Good evening, everyone. This is a special edition to our stimulus and SBA EIDL loans and grants, as well as PPP. You may hear a little bit of me ranting. I do not take either side from any party. This is a special edition relating to those that may be hurting within the industry itself that I want to talk about. And then I just want to also share some of my own ideas of stimulus and hope that perhaps our president will be able to consider, reconsider, or suggest these types of stimulus that I would that I'm going to propose right now. But one of the things I want to bring up first and foremost is that I'm not pro anybody, whether it's Democrat or Republican. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to address the issues, suggest and reconsider some of the issues that are already going on. And with further ado, I would like to begin with two definitions. One is, what is a dispute? A dispute, according to at least bank law, and of course dealing with law and finances, is that there's something that has happened that you did not receive. For example, if you're paying $50 for my consulting services, but you didn't expect the services to be the way that I presented them, that would be a dispute, right? But let's say the guy next door is using your card that you don't know about, and he is paying for his consulting services that I'm not sure about. That is considered fraud because you did not give the guy next door the okay to use your card. So one of the things I want to rant about for a minute is this issue with SBA. Now, I have noticed, and I'm just trying, I have to be blunt here. There was many people out there that I'm sure of that have actually made mistakes on their application. Or should you say that they are mistakes? But the reality is there was nowhere on that application, on that streamlined application, that indicates the type of employees we're looking at, or the different things like 1099 versus W-2 or whatnot. Now, is there implied language? Sure. Now, what I want to dig in a little bit further is to find out what language the actual CARES Act provides. But the reason that it didn't provide employee is because, except for the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program, there wasn't any real reason to talk about $1,000 per employee, unless that was what was intended, correct? Then we would actually be seeing in the CARES Act exactly that, what they're talking about. But apparently, my confusion is, besides the fact that we know that the SBA has broken the laws intentionally, I have a little twist to their situation that they feel like they are so, how I want to use it, like so innocent about. If it was literally $1,000 per employee up to $10,000, then shouldn't something somewhere in the CARES Act announce that so that everybody would know if they were breaking the law or not? That's something to think about. Another issue that we're noticing is the fact that their definition of fraud is not the same as the bank, and you cannot, and I have asked this to a few lawyers. Now, I'm not a lawyer, okay? By no means, I am no lawyer, all right? But I'm just going to get right to it, all right? When I did speak to an attorney, and I did mention certain things about what is going on with this SBA program and whatnot, it is against the law to call something fraudulent that is not. Let me give you an example, because I just had this issue today. Not today, Friday. I called the bank saying that I found out about a fraudulent company because my enrolled agent saw fees all over the place. So something that I paid in, I paid it, I knew what it was, but they were telling me that I was paying it to a fraudulent company. I'm not going to explain what and the whole spiel, but it was there. Well, at first, because I thought it was a fraudulent company, I assumed that I was reporting fraud. Well, the bank said it's not fraud because you gave them your account number and you had a conversation. And I was like, oh. So if I have a conversation with the person and I know that they're giving me or had taken money away, it's not fraud because there was something verbal going back and forth. That's not, and it's me, and I know it's me. That's what you're saying. So that's not fraud. And they told me left and right I would call every single bank in the book to get the answer, and they say that is not fraud. But if I had no reason why those fees came out, like here I see all these fees, I see all this stuff going on. Maybe the company is now trying to say that I owed something else and I didn't owe nothing because I didn't know who they were. All these excuses would be redeemed as fraud because I had no idea what was going on. It is actual money taken out that was not of my consent with my bank. Now, we need to talk about what embezzlement is, and I'm not going to go into all those details, but it sounds like SBA is going through some issues relating to fraud, embezzlement, and needing to complete disputes. But disputes are not criminal. They are just, you could try to recover them or you couldn't because there was a mistake. In either end, it's not like you didn't know that the person talked with you. Let me give you an example. Now, the first example would be they call me up and they say, what is your EIN number? And I tell them, like, hold on, I gotta go get my paper or whatever the case may be. And I was like, oh, is it like that 12-digit number? Like, I start asking them what it is when I should already know what it is, so if I'm a business. That sends a red flag. Then the next question would be, well, what's the name of your business? Where are you located? What county are you in? What's your phone number? Who are you? And you cannot answer those basic questions. That's more than a red flag. That's like, ooh, did we actually send money to somebody else? Who are you? And that actually gets into a situation where it could possibly be very well fraud. Because you're talking about people that are stealing people's social security numbers to add EIN, stealing people's names to pretend that they started a business that wasn't their own. Not only that, but can you imagine if somebody said, yeah, they started SL Models and Talent Agency LLC under my name with my social security number, and then goes and gets a grant and says, well, I need a loan, and then steals the grant and the loan from me, but then they're impersonating like they are the owner of something that they're not the owner of. So not only did I have a fraud case, but like if I wouldn't know about it too, then there would have been an impersonation clause. Oh yeah. These are all like illegal acts of what fraudsters would actually do. Okay, example. So what would actually happen? But let's say now you accidentally, okay, I'm going to put that in quote, put 2-3 extra employees on your SBA application, and they call you and you're calling them and you're all trying to figure out, like, where is this grant? Where's my loan? How do I dispute whatever? You having a conversation with them. They are asking you the questions. You are answering them. It's on a recorded line. That's not fraud. That's a dispute, because it's like, well, from what I can see, it's only you and your other person. You don't have 4 employees. You only have 2. So then you have to try to recover it, or you have to say, look, okay, you owe us a loan of $2,000. But I fear, now I hadn't seen anything yet, what I have seen is that there are legitimate fraudsters out there, and they said they have put out hundreds of millions of dollars on fraud. So if these investigators are actually investigating actual fraud, that's one thing. But to actually close a business down, say you took money and you knowingly did it, first of all, you're going to have to figure that out within a conversation of their intention. That's going to be kind of hard to prove, that you intentionally lied on your application for something that I just mentioned in the beginning of this video, that you needed to have in that CARES Act to abide by. So the CARES Act doesn't initiate what it means to have 10 or more employees to get $10,000. Even if the 2 words you're getting mixed up is may and can, it doesn't matter. The reality is there's nothing there, and it was nothing on that mainstream application that says W-2 or 1099, or even if you needed this or that and the other thing. Now, it's okay to make a mistake. I'm gonna lighten my heart up a little bit, okay? It is okay to make a mistake and then realize, okay, here on out, we need to figure this out. We have disputes over here. We have all kinds of embezzlement over here with fraud. How are we, what is the challenge? What do we need to do to fix this problem? And then you can fix that problem, and that problem will be resolved. It's okay to have the investigators to investigate the frauds and things. So that's something that, you guys are, FDIC insured. You're insured of this. The Fed reserves. The U.S. Treasury is all backing this information of the SBA. And I feel sorry for those of you who are sitting there knowingly lying and cheating on applications for the intention of fraud. But I do not believe that the majority of the accidental reports or anything more than a dispute. And that's not a criminal case. That is just something that you're going to have to challenge with the person that made that mistake. That's a different situation. Okay? Now, going into what I would like to suggest as a stimulus, because I am a small business owner. I actually own 4 small businesses, plus my own sole proprietorship, of which I have employees attached to. I wasn't sure what to do about the SBA after they ran out of the grants again. That's one issue. But besides that, hearing about the fraud and what they define as fraud and all that, I was like, until this thing is over with, I'm just going to stop applying, because I don't need red flags at me for something that could just simply be a quick little fix. You know what I mean? And then I'm forced to close down, and I could possibly get a warrant or whatever the case may be over some stupidity. And that's really what it is. You don't rush things and then expect that all this is going to just be happening, and now all of a sudden everybody's confused, worried, and the lawsuits are flying like wildfire. And I still don't understand to this day, now I'm ranting, how the courts could be in the favor of SBA, when in reality, it's, the language is in there very simple and clear. The one question that I would have been asking in that package is, if it was intended for $1,000 per employee, then why didn't you say that any business 10 and under is able to apply and receive a loan up to $2 million? Why is it all that other language in there, but you're only expecting 10 employees? And then you start red flagging because people say, well, yeah, I got 25 employees, so now I could get the $10,000. Well, that's my defense, but at the same time, there is nothing in the CARES Act that mentions anything in relations to employment except for the SBA Paycheck Protection Program. It then discusses what kind of employees you're talking about. And it even addresses 1099s, like W-9 versus W-2s. So if they can apply for that, then what is wrong with the SBA EIDL advance and EIDL loans? Am I confused? I don't know. Is that actually fraud? No. There is nothing fraudulent about even making a mistake. And it's going to be very hard to actually prove intention unless you're actually able to ask the correct language that would pull it out of them that they intentionally did it. Now, I also want to rant a little bit, and this is just my opinion. This ain't got nothing to do with news or anything like what I'm just discussing. But my opinion is that I feel as if there is something behind closed doors happening that is being relevant to why everything is being capped and everything is actually like all of a sudden we're getting these fraudsters happening, and why they wasn't able to figure out how to distinguish that to begin with. The other issue that I have is that when a tornado comes and blows your business down and you now no longer have a business, right? And before, the EIDL advance was always, or EIDL loan was always about protecting the business and its losses. So let's talk about something else that I'm confused about, the CARES Act, that the actual SBA is doing. The total revenue minus your total costs divided by 2.5. Yeah, exactly. The cost being subtracted from your revenue and then dividing it. The whole point of the SBA program is to know what revenue you have lost so you can build it up so that you will have a loan or something there available for your business during the pandemic. But here we are, we're dividing your revenue. And then this poor excuse of your credit score is below a 570. I'm sorry, I cannot help you. And then to prove your credit score, they're asking you for a tax return. Don't you have that? I think your original intention was not the credit score if you're going to ask for the tax return. But the credit score is just triggering it because they're trying to figure out, I guess, why it is that maybe you have so much debt, but how are you going to be able to pay this? And your tax return will be able to prove something on the basis of the amount. That would be my guess. But the reality is that what they're actually looking for? And the credit score just happens to be the excuse, because the reality always has been with these disaster loans, so the credit score wasn't the portion of the denial. It was simply whether or not you were in the hard hit area where the disaster happened. So if a hurricane hit Florida and you're trying to go and say that you have a business in Wilmington, Delaware, and there was no hurricane there, but you were trying to get a disaster loan, they're going to deny you because they're going to say you didn't really, you didn't have any injury, any disaster injury. So, that would be a real reason to be denied. But there are two things on their denial list that make no sense. Disaster loans have never been about credit at all in the past. At least from what I understand when I was speaking with folks with SCORE, the Chambers of Commerce, and the Small Business Administration program that I'm actually affiliated with now through SCORE, because I'm trying to get some help about all this stuff that's going on. Not to even mention that I'm mentoring a little bit on how to even get an SBA disaster loan, because there's been all kinds of crap going on out there that I can't even keep up with the goalposts that are going on. Thank you, LA Late. We've been cracking jokes for about 4 months. I was lucky to have my advances, but the problem is I've been denied twice but for two different businesses. One was for a credit score that it shouldn't have been, and the intention, I could tell you right now, wasn't the credit score, because for my 15-minute call, most of it was all about the tax return. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm sending my tax return. That was the recent denial. But the one before that was that my advance was more than what my injury was. Well, I can tell you this right now, they're going to deny me for the credit score because it got the same issue with that, even though the other one isn't there. But I can easily prove that I could pay $122 a month for a $25,000 loan. I mean, this is the issue, and this is what I want the president and the Congress to actually know. Now, am I thankful that the program is there? I sure am. And I want to give you a suggestion. This is going to be my stimulus proposal. So the last that I've heard, the PPP program has what, 150 to 200 billion dollars left in it. Everybody's confused about what's going on with that. I don't even know if it needs Congress or whatnot, but if it did, okay. Why is there not any congressional hearings or anything that there was before to figure out how to divvy up PPP loans for the direct small businesses that have been hurt in the pandemic? Now, I'm talking in past tense, but the reality is there are still small businesses being hurt, and therefore this could really help them in the long run. You have nearly 200 billion, 180 billion, I believe it is, left in the SBA EIDL program right now, and they flat out just denying loans like left and right, and then you got to get them in recon and everything. Some of them are even on hold still. And the ones that didn't get the advances are in a backlog of over 7 million right now. Before we even talk about a loan, we have the near $200 billion just sitting there, and there's a backlog still of over 7 million applications. How ridiculous is that? So why couldn't we pass the S.4227? Because we already have what Congress wants in there anyway. It's sitting right there in front of your face. It's in there. It's not been allocated yet. It's right in front of your face. It can help small businesses like mine and others that are out there. You can move 40, 50 billion and have another 150 billion for these 7 million applications that are on the backlog. Then we can get the small business situation at least somewhat calm with the allocation that we have. That is really my proposal. It's as simple as that. Move some of that money over and do something right. And also, I like this new proposal that came up. And of course, I'm going to do more research and then go with this. But I want to also explain why this is important for people in the entertainment industry, of which I heard Donald Trump on many occasions talk about have been hit so hard. In the meantime, we have a lot of people that are in the entertainment industry who have not yet had jobs, but are now being told as if they should just go out and look for one when their job was blatantly taken away from them. And we have the SBA sitting there talking about $1,000 per employee up to $10,000. So that would imply to me that the CARES Act should have said something like this. If you are an employer with 10 employees or less under the W-2, you can then apply for a loan up to capped at $150,000 to help motivate and construct and do whatever you need to do for your small business to be afloat. But that's not what the CARES Act says. And the courts are saying, well, I'm confused with the word may. The only word, a three-letter word, the word may. And it's getting all this attention about, it's okay, SBA, you're doing right. And here's a whole nother funny part of it. And I'm sorry I gotta be blunt about this, but you have the whole Small Business Administration Finance Committee in a congressional hearing, half of them already sending letters in demanding that these grants be paid, and they're sitting there congratulating. Congratulations, you're doing a wonderful job. Really? Now I'm really confused. Did they do a wonderful job or did they not? Are you trying to say that the CARES Act should have been worded like that? Then what was the point of your letter? Was it just to pay you a couple $100 to turn around and write up some juicy statements that keep our mouth shut? Or was it to actually do something? And right now I'm waiting for something to be done. There are many places out there. I have seen in my towns that I visit on occasion for my open calls or that I'm just visiting for other purposes. And all I see and all I'm hearing is just this store going bankrupt, that store is going bankrupt now. Are there jobs coming back? Yes. I won't even get into that discussion, and I'm going to have my proofs on that one. But the reality is I'm tired of the lies and the deceptions and everything got to be so politicized. Why can't you just be real? And be like, hey, look, this is what it was. You need to fix that. That's all I'm asking for. That's all that a lot of small business owners are asking for. If someone were to lie to me at their job and I found out and it has cost us so much money, yeah, it would be grounds for termination. You have put out so much money and you got almost nearly, $400 to $500 billion still not spent between PPP and the EIDL program. And what I don't understand, I still don't understand these calculations. How everybody, like you got millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars going out to fraudsters. But let's just subtract that thought for a minute. You got 7 million or over applications in the backlog, and you ran out of advance money already? I mean, that's just an opinion on my part. But if the U.S. Treasury and the Cabinet and the Fed Reserves already had multiplied out $10,000, and here are like the whole entire listing, like say 32 million small businesses, why are you running out of advances before you're running out of loans where you still got a backlog of over 7 million people? Or businesses, should I say. It's a very good question. It would be a pretty good question for the DOJ. I mean, after all, it's what I've heard in that last congressional hearing. So instead of getting that, we now have this thing where everybody's wondering if they're going to get a warrant for their arrest because they quote unquote lied on their application instead of looking for actual real fraud. That's a problem. Because if you get caught for actually denying your court claim, meaning that you're accusing someone wrongfully, that's a charge. I mean, unless there's something different with the SBA, my knowledge tells me that what fraud really is. And it's not when you have a conversation with the company. It's one or two things that could happen here with fraud. Either they ignore your phone calls constantly and will not answer you, and they flat out just did whatever, scammed the people, stole identity, whatever the case may be. That's the one that you really need to really focus on. And it's going to take a little bit longer than a few months to rectify that problem. But a dispute is something where, like, say, I applied and I said I had two, employees, but it actually is only me. I'm wondering who in the Congress, in the White House, the Senate, and in the actual House of Representatives, I wonder who there is actually taking this serious. That is just allowing this company, SBA, Small Business Administration, they claim that everything going on there is flat out fraud, even though that even what they found is only a percentage of what most went out. But they're using this as a big hook, just like the one about, just like the one hook that they're using right now. Well, Americans can live with or without. Really? Americans can live with or without. We're going to be more generous. I just really don't care about hot air. It's either the bill is there or it's not. And that's the way that I see it. But you have billions of dollars, and if you're not going to do it with the SBA or the PPP, then use it for the American people. That is my stimulus suggestion. And for all of you artists and models out there who are still working your tails off so hard to at least try to figure out how you can recoup some money, but also to revitalize the new era of artistry for what we are dealing with now. I actually congratulate you with that, but a lot of you guys do deserve this just as much as the businesses do. And at the very least, if it was going to take this long, they should have done $1,000 a month for you. But I know that some of you probably ended up taking over that PUA, so that I'm sure probably had helped somewhat for most of you. So, you know, a lot of this is just me being opinionated right now. But, you know, there does come a question, someone driving a car for Uber, if they really should qualify for $10,000 in advance. And you know, to be honest, that should have been something discussed when they did the CARES Act, but it hasn't been. And apparently a W-9 subcontractor is being equal to a business. But in actuality, I believe tax law has all those grounds for what it really is. So I'm actually really confused. And once I get some of those answers, I will let you know, because for my company, I actually have 3 enrolled agents that are licensed by the IRS every, I think, couple years. And they help me with my taxes. So, and then they also are now starting to help as a service for the people related to my company, not my employee, and or the artists and the models, even some of the clients. I suggest them, hey, look, you know, they can make you or break you. It just depends. It depends what kind of business you're doing. And if you're doing honest business, then you won't have to deal with the full audit. You know, the audit would already be there because they know what needs to be audited. That's part of what their licensure is and their responsibilities and what they're looking for, which is why they helped me out in understanding that I'm paying money out to a fraudulent company. But I almost caught myself there because it is considered a fraudulent company, but because I had conversations with the company, it's not technically fraud. Because I have given them my information. I have spoken to them. So it's not like I could say, oh, I don't know what that company is. See, that's probably some of the harder part of the fraud that you're going to come by, SBA. I understand that part of it too. But I really, really think that you should applaud yourself for some of the hard work that you are doing, but there needs to be some kind of improvement with the system. There needs to be some kind of improvement of how you're handling fraudsters, because it makes it very unfair for everybody else that are still waiting. Even if there is no advance money any longer, we are still waiting for a loan. And this credit score thing, I don't know what that is. I could prove to you with my income tax that I could pay $122 a month. That's all it is $122 a month for $25,000. That'll keep me afloat for a minute. I'm hoping that PPP comes back into existence, because that will actually help me the greatest, I think. And this idea of the SBA EIDL loan being forgiven, I actually like that idea. The reality is, I think if they were knowing that they're going to forgive this stuff, they really should have just had an application somehow for a large grant that could be capped. You know, like or something like scholarships. You know, like when you go to school and they say you can only get so much and it's going to cap right here, but you have to go by this, and every year they're going to assess the issue and see, and you're only allowed up to so many years to claim it. I think that's what should really happen. Because then you would really know. All right, who has an EIN? Who has a this? Who has a that? They'll look into it. They'll know. They'll go into the registry department of the states and see if you have a legit business register. And then they will have somebody contacting, I'm sure, to find out if that person is who they say they are. You might have to send in some copies of like your IDs or something. Sure. Statements, IRS papers, whatever. But that would be a really, really nice thing if they could just say, forget the loan situation and just go with the grant. Because you're pretty much making it all a grant anyway. It's literally robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like, all right, Peter says, well, I'm going to loan you $2 million. And Paul says, I want the $2 million, but I don't know what to do with it. So then he's like, okay, you can have it. Really? I mean, that's literally what's going on here. It's like, it's stupid math. In any case, that's my rant for tonight relating to the SBA EIDL advances, EIDL loan, PPP program, understanding what it is to be fraudulent, having embezzlement, and knowing the difference between fraud, embezzlement, and a dispute. Excuse me, I want to do a shout out to LA Late for all the coverage that you're doing. And I also want to do a big shout out. I don't really comment much with her, but NAA Worldwide. And the fact that you are doing a class action suit, it is literally, I still yet need to actually sign up for it. And the reason is because I feel that it is a necessary thing that must be addressed. And I have addressed at least 3 things in this video that nobody has probably either maybe just barely touched on or is now starting to realize that it's going on. So I'm trying to help you guys out as well. And please like, subscribe, thumbs up, big thumbs up. There are many other people that I know have been covering this topic with the SBA and the EIDL advances and loans and fraud and all that. I want to give you guys a big thumbs up and a huge like. I don't comment much now because I'm busy doing, well, you see what I'm doing now. But I'm going to have to keep up the news as well, and I would really like to help you guys the best that I can in the timing that I can, because in my industry, it's really hurting. I'm going to do another video on that. Just on that alone. The entertainment industry is hurting. And at the same time, I'm not talking about some of the naughty entertainment industry portions of it. I'm talking about the fact that even galleries are not really staying open like they should. Or they're requesting more money from the donors, and we have big name artists. I know a few of them, I'm not going to mention them out loud in this video, that are really helping the first responders. I congratulate you guys as well for doing everything that you're doing. And again, I do applaud everyone for what they are trying to do, whether it's in the House or the Senate. I applaud even Mitch in a way where he is starting to realize that it's not just about what he wants, and that he has to sacrifice sometimes what he wants for what the American people want. I'm all there in there for you, let me tell you. And this next election is going to be extremely important to who cares about the American people. So if your new slogan is, with or without, we will do good, and we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do good with or without? Or is it just going to be a little bit more hot air coming out, and then we will find out later whether or not we can live without? Because according to the other way, you know what I'm talking about, but it is YouTube, and I'm not trying to take sides here. According to the other way, it's very hard to live without, and the homelessness is extremely rocketing. Evictions are rocketing. So, I mean, you tell me if you can live out on the street with this disease. You know, we'll just put it that way. But that is my biggest concern, is who is going to do the best for the American people, but without the jargon and the politicizing that is involved with it. Because at this point, this is a little more personal. It's not even business. It's about how you actually feel for the people. And it is okay to break down if you feel that you need to at some cases. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this is not a sad situation. It is. And I'm not going to pretend that I agree that where it came from or whatnot. That is besides me right now. Our biggest war is what is in front of us, and that is the health crisis. That is also hindering people's financial crisis as well. And it does cause issues with people's health, other than COVID-19, but it could include it. So if you're saying that you want less deaths, less, what am I looking for right now? Because got so many thoughts. If you want less depression and things like that, then I think it needs to start where you need to be real with the people. Especially now, if you're going to promise something and then start saying you can live without it. That is probably the worst move that anybody could make right now. I'm just being upfront and blunt about it. It is the worst move. Especially when you're going to sit there and try to say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm ready to do this, I'm ready to do that. If you're ready, on your mark, get set, go. Let your light shine for the better. And that's what I say. And for that matter, I am going to leave this video. Go ahead and comment down below. I wanted to do some ranting, but I also wanted to bring up some real issues that I have been seeing, and some issues that are actually just starting to erupt. And if they're not just starting to erupt, that there's a more clear sign of the reality of what's going on. So I'm breaking it down in a real sense, despite all the research that all the other channels were doing. I'm just making it real. All right. And I thank you for your time. I know I went on much longer, but it was worth it. Please like and subscribe if you want to hear more information in regards to stimulus or SBA news. as well as other topics. And we're going to start bringing artists in to maybe showcase their videos. I'm going to be doing some royalty contracts dealing with YouTube. So I'll talk to you more about that on another video. But for now, I look forward to working with as many as possible on this issue, especially relating to the entertainment industry, as stated.